Hello and welcome to the Queber channel. I'm Jason, your host. Let's talk about this time the police were sent after me and I almost ended up in jail for stealing government property. Yeah, it's as crazy as it sounds. Those that know me know how honest I am, know how I don't get in trouble. I don't do things wrong. I definitely don't get on the bad side of the law. So this was in the 90s, before I met Paola. I was hanging out at the local computer shop. I spent time there every single day. It was just the place to be. I didn't work there. I just helped out with tech stuff and played Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. Well, how can we put this? Let's start at the beginning. There was a guy who used to come in there, and one day he came in and he was really moaning about how the computer that they had just bought was really bad. Now, he worked for social services, and their office was a home for special needs children. It was a living home for people like in that situation. And so, remember, I'm completely naive to all this kind of things that should be done with that kind of place. And so he's saying how bad it is. They've just spent all their entertainment budget on this computer for the kids and that to be able to game and everything on, and it's horrible. It's not doing anything they want. And the people they've had it from won't budge on it. And so I say, hey, why don't I come over and thingy? And he says, okay, yeah, that was the first thing. He shouldn't have done that. I now know these days, especially from my mum who worked in social services, that you have to have police checks and everything before you're allowed in those places. But this was the 90s, and so I pick up all my bits and pieces from my house to do with technology and bits and pieces. Great big hold all I had with it all in. And I go in there and they say, yeah, he's okay due to come in. And I go and sit in front of this computer, and it's a fucking monstrosity, it is. This thing was one of the computers in the 90s that was sold to people by people on commission in places like Grenada and Rumbelows and all that, and they had no knowledge of the computers, they had no knowledge of what was going on. They just wanted to shift units, and they didn't care what they were giving people. Even for the day, it was really bad quality. It had the smallest hard drive I've ever seen, even back then. It had a horrible motherboard and setup, and it was the lowest amount that would basically turn on and boot up into DOS and Windows without it crashing. It was literally the kind of really nasty crap that was being shoveled to people who knew no different. And I was angry. And so I started work on it. And one of the people came in and said, are you sure you're supposed to be doing that? Yeah, I've been okay to get this computer working well. Well, what the guy probably, because he had to go out and do some stuff, so he wasn't there at the time. So what he probably wanted me to do was just tweak it. What did I do? I took out the motherboard, the graphics card, I took out the entire innards, and I replaced them with parts I had spare, which were better than what was in there. And then I set it all up. Bigger hard drive in there, and got it working, set up menus so the kids could play golf and tic-tac-toe and basically any free shareware game I had installed so that they could play all these games. Set it up inside menus and set all the settings for DOS and for Windows and everything so that these things could run and the kids could have fun with it and that. And then I took all the parts that I had taken out the computer and put them in my bag. Because I thought, hey, I've given them all this. I'll just try, I'll do something with this stuff because I left the place and went home. Oh boy. Now, the person who asked me to go there wasn't in at the time. It's not on him. But the branch manager, the manager in charge of the unit, heard from one of their Dudley Do-Rights of what I'd done. And that I'd taken the parts with me after I'd done it. So, instead of coming after me, which, to be fair, they tried to do right at the start, but the problem is this. The only place they knew me from was the computer shop, and the computer shop was closed. And so, instead of waiting for the morning, they filed a report with the police that someone had come in and stolen parts from a government computer. A social services computer. And so, later that night, 9 p.m, I'm upstairs messing with stuff upstairs on my computer when my mum comes up the stairs and says, there's some police here to see you. And she says, I'm like, what? And she's like, oh. And she knew they'd told her what had happened. And she was like, oh. She says, you need to come with us. So thankfully the police, I think, realised what had gone wrong, what had happened, because they had talked to my mum. So I went straight back to the unit with them. I replaced all the parts back inside, closed it back up, put it back exactly the way it was. The blooming petty in charge kind of person who had actually got the police involved was there. And she's like, oh, no, you can leave the software and that the way you do. No, if I'm going to put it back the way it was, I'm going to put it back the way it was. I was a bit petty, so I put it back exactly the way it was. Shut it all up and thingy, took my own stuff and left. The police didn't charge me in the end with it. But yeah, that happened. I was so naive at the time. I was so naive. I thought, in my naive little way, I was just trying to help. But yeah. This is what happens. This is what happens. When your brain works differently. So this is Jason for the Clever channel. I hope you found that fun.